Edwards. Yes, sir.
Oh, my God.
Edwards. Yeah. And star. Venomous.
Anthony Edwards.
Do you live in Minnesota? Have you been haunted by the fact that the Timberwolves were the worst franchise in American men's pro sports at one point? Well, I'm finally here to lift that burden off of you, because a young 22-year-old Anthony Edwards is dragging Minnesota out of basketball purgatory, one clutch shot and hilarious interview after another. Weren't we supposed to be worried about a lack of winning mentality? Boy, do the Warriors wish they had taken Minnesota's offer to trade up in the draft. Ant is taking the world by storm, and we're going to show how this was forecast a long time ago. Edwards was born in Atlanta, Georgia, with dreams of becoming a professional athlete. Even at an early age, he had freakish athleticism compared to his peers. He used those powers to focus on his passion: football. That's right, Ant was initially destined for the turf instead of the hardwood. He made fast friends with the son of former NFL player Chris Hinton and was absorbed by the sport. By the time he was 9, Edwards claims he was the #1 running back in his age group. If it wasn't for his older brothers, Edwards might have never found basketball. Both were massive support beams for the young kid's life. Losing both their mother and grandmother to cancer when Anthony was 14, his older brothers and sisters helped raise Ant to who he is today. He saw his brothers on the court when he was 10 and thought it looked fun, so he started playing against them. Though older and stronger, Edwards never won. He took it as a challenge and became obsessed. Flash forward to his senior year of high school, and the young Ant is averaging 26 points and almost 10 rebounds a game. His average recruitment rating online is second only to James Wiseman. He became a McDonald's All-American and could pick any college he wanted. The decision was easy: stay close to family and become a Bulldog. But his time at the University of Georgia was short-lived. By this point, Edwards was destined for the pros. His decision to refocus on basketball and abandon his true football love was paying off. With absurd athletic finishes around the rim and a mid-range bag to break down defenders, he led all freshmen in the nation in scoring with 19.5 points a game. He led his team in scoring, steals, blocks, and playing time. If it isn't obvious in that sentence, Anthony Edwards was on the Georgia basketball team. But there was only so much an 18-year-old could do, and the Bulldogs would finish a measly 16-16. He would declare for the NBA draft during the pandemic. Have you guys noticed how weird it is to look back at the attempted scouting for that draft? Everyone had such little live game tape. There were virtual interviews. It was all one big mess. It was clear, though, that Edwards should be a top pick. The question was, who wanted him? Flashing back to draft night, all reports highlight the Timberwolves wanting to trade out of the first pick to someone like the Warriors, but Golden State said it was not interested. "We want Wiseman." There was talk of both Edwards and LaMelo Ball on their dedication to the sport. Are they here for the right reasons? Are they secretly in love with football or fame? The debate went from basketball play styles to the classic Love Island dilemma. Thankfully for Minnesota fans, the front office trusted the talent and took Ant #1. At this point in time, the Timberwolves were still horrible. Towns was their leading guy alongside D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley. Edwards walked in and would become the team's second leading scorer. He averaged 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. The athleticism was clearly there, and once they saw this kid in the pros, it didn't seem like anyone was actually worried about whether this kid cared or not. He wanted to win. He and the team just weren't ready yet. Flash forward a year, and pieces are starting to come together though. Minnesota gets a full season under current head coach Chris Finch, and the team has changed game plans altogether. Follow their promising young guard and start flying. It's funny to think this was only 2 seasons ago, but back then, the Wolves played at the fastest pace in the league. Edwards and KAT were mostly just worried about the offensive side of the ball that year. And, you know, it kind of worked. Anthony Edwards tasted the playoffs as the 7th seed against Memphis. This was Morant versus Edwards, an immediate narrative of two of the brightest young American players were battling it out for control. Although the Grizzlies would win the series in 6, the games were physical, and all but 2 finished within 10 points. Edwards also took a giant step forward by taking control of the team. He led Minnesota in scoring with 26 a game, and his usage rate surpassed KAT's for the series. It wasn't all roses for him though. Fans called Ant out for making silly mistakes down the stretches of multiple games. When things got tough, he seemed to default to his athleticism too much, and play like he had horse blinders on. Still, the front office felt like their mystery pandemic draftee was about to explode, so they flew in the Stifle Tower. We flash forward to this year, and Minnesota is attempting to put a state name change on the next voting ballot. Please select which name we should call the state. Minnesota or Anthony Edwards, please, please, please never leave us. I have a feeling I know which one is going to win. After another disappointing first-round exit, Edwards returned an average 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. His usage rate climbed to 32, and his playoff intensity defensive was integrated into his regular season form. And with guys like Gobert, McDaniels, Kyle Anderson, Mike Conley, Naz Reid, Alexander Walker, and the entire freaking team, the franchise has transformed into a defensive juggernaut. Many people have pointed out Edwards' leadership as another key difference for this year, though. Everything the camera captures indicates Anthony is a born leader, and even the old veterans rally behind the 22-year-old voice. He's constantly in everyone's ear, hyping them up. This is translated into the connective tissue for hypercommunication on defense. If you watch the next Timberwolves game closely, you'll see how much they communicate with voice and hands, all thanks to Ant's charisma. Edwards has also improved his jumper to 36% from beyond the arc. He continues to get better and is now an all-NBA 3-level scorer. He can blitz past you for the thunderous slam, hit you with a fadeaway mid-range, or knock down the 3 for a clutch bucket. Oh, and those horse blinders he'd put on himself? Edwards has seen everything in this amazing playoff run. He'll be on a fast break after a Minnesota steal multiple times, but if he senses he doesn't have the numbers, he'll pull back. You know how people say the best players in the world see their game slowed down? Edwards seems to have figured out how to slow himself down while saying things in slow motion at the same time. One of the few other players in the league right now who can say the same is 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic. No one can speed up the Joker, and he'll dissect your entire team in a single play. Except Minnesota slowed down Denver. In fact, Anthony Edwards led the franchise to beat the reigning champs in Game 7 in Denver. Once viewed as inevitable for the championship, the team was ousted in the second round by a historic defense surrounding a guard in his young 20s. Doing something that incredible has gotten Edwards global basketball notoriety. This has meant discussion and debates around every little part of his game. The young kid from Atlanta who once wrote on his bedroom wall in Sharpie, "Future NBA player," was now standing in the bright lights, being compared to Michael Jordan, a superhuman athlete who could dominate on both sides of the ball. Both are shooting guards with a similar mid-range game and floating abilities around the rim. Edwards averaged 3 feet in the air for his dunks this year, highest in the whole league. Is it fair to compare Ant to MJ? No, probably not, but it's a lot of fun to compare the footage. The long-armed guards from the South come to an abysmal Midwest team and start taking down Goliaths. Jordan had to fight through Bird and whole teams like the Bad Boy Pistons. These playoffs, Edwards has taken down Durant and then the reigning champs in Denver. Not only take the hopes of everyone else's seasons, they also had the media fall in love with them. Look up any Anthony Edwards interview and you'll be greeted with a beaming smile and multiple jokes. Those interviews have mentioned this comparison as well. Edwards has made it clear to stop comparing him to the GOAT of basketball, which is fair as realistically, Edwards has yet to win an MVP or championship. But the admiration is there from everyone for Ant to rise to the occasion of the face of the league. And when he does that, what will that mean for his career projection? Can he win multiple championships? Multiple MVPs? Reporters will be flocking to this year's Olympics not for the chance to follow LeBron or Curry on most likely their final international appearances, but to watch and see where Edwards lands in the team's pecking order. Early last summer, he was a late addition to Team USA. Late last summer, he was the primary option for Team USA. After that first-round playoff exit, he took his game to a new height on the international stage. So, after such a successful playoffs, what could he do this summer? How would presumed Team Alpha LeBron react? Someone who we've all wondered what it will feel like to see retire. LeBron stood atop the NBA for 2 decades now. People have tried stamping young guys to take his job as the face of the league over the last 5+ years. Giannis, Morant, Luka, Jokic, if he ever cared. I think we have our answer. What do you think?